to the FVCFFFLFVCFFFVYFFLFFS.
Yeah, this is much harder to do across the phone than it was in person.
Episode 4. And you can see we are high tech for this episode. We are doing a Google Meet and recording it. So if you are wondering why everything is such high tech, it's because we are such a professional company. Speaking of professional, Aaron, let's hit the quick question is, who do you hate the most on your team? Who is the bust of the year from your team? I'll let you have the pleasure of going first so my anger can develop over time.
Yeah, that's easy. It is by far dumpster fire Julio Jones. It is now the second time I've had him in fantasy, and I have hated every minute that I've had him on my team, both times. I just don't understand how a guy can finish in the top 5 of wide receivers every year and be so crappy to have on your team. I don't get it. You have no idea when to play him. You don't know when he's going to go off. You got to put him in your lineup to get the big games. And then for a guy who's that good, he's given me, I think, a 2 and a 5 this year. That is just unbelievable.
What I cannot understand and what I find unbelievable is that you did this once and you decided to do it again this year.
I did not decide to do it again.
Who drafted him?
He fell to me in the draft. He fell to me in the draft.
And you drafted him. Well, he is your Derrick Henry.
Here is the deal. No. Anybody in the men's league who has a reasonable starting receiver, make an offer and he's yours. Not AJ Green, Eric.
I will give you Anthony Miller for Julio Jones.
We'll talk later.
Do you have them in both leagues?
No, just the men's league.
Okay. Well, I've got an award for each of my leagues because one of my guys is on both of my teams and one of them's only on one. So in the youth league, I have Josh Jacobs and Eric shares my pain. The first week, he was amazing. My number 1 pick, 34 points. Week number 2, 12. Week number 3, 8. Week number 4, guess what it was, Aaron? 8.
6? Oh, I thought we were going down.
We're staying in the bottom of the pile is what it is. But then I drafted because of my draft position at the end of the round every time. My only receivers, I went running back. So I got a double portion of DJ Moore, and I have a double portion of pain myself. First week, 7 points. Second week, 17 points. Guess what the third week was?
7.
It was. Guess what the fourth week was?
7.
That's exactly what it was.
Wow.
7, 17, 7, 7 for my number 1 wide receiver. He is my Derrick Henry Award winner. Speaking of Derrick.
And I was upset that Eric sniped Josh Jacobs from me in the draft in the men's league, but whew, I really dodged a bullet on that one, didn't I, Eric?
But I picked it up. Speaking of good players, though, let's get to the first award.
No, we got to talk water bet. Remember? So,
sorry. Hold on.
So we just want to. John and I looked, and as it turned out, unfortunately, John wins the water bet because my team, including Julio Jones, pooped the bed, and so he wins 2-1.
I like how you picked yourself and lost.
Well, dang it, Julio. So,
and who drafted Julio Jones? I forget.
I'm going to start calling him Stulio Jones, right?
But we don't have the water bet video this week, so we are going to make that up at a later date and time of our choosing. Are you ready for the studs?
Now we're ready for the stud.
I'll let you do this so that you can be encouraged.
Yeah, so on this one, we've got the stud of the week, and it is Randy's man, Joe Mixon, scoring 40.1 points. He had 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. He is the stud. He was on Tristan's team in the youth league and Andy's team in the men's league. Andy didn't get the benefit, which we'll talk about later in the
Hey, can I interrupt just a second? And I just want to say, Randy Ermers, think what would have happened if you had drafted Joe Mixon and started him on your team this week. Just saying.
Something to think about.
And that leads us to something else to think about. Do you hear that? There's some kind of... There's an explosion on my end of the internet. This is the Bust Award. And so far this year, the Bust has been #1 ranked at his position. And I have him on my team in one of the leagues in the Youth League. And Nathan has him in the Men's League. And the #1 wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, so far. And he played the entire game. You probably saw against the Packers last night. He got 0 catches for 0 yards. And he had 0 touchdowns for a total of, guess what, Aaron?
0.
0 points. And he busted. I put him on my bench. I thought I was a little crazy. He was questionable. He played the whole game, but he still was horrible. Nathan started him, and the rest
he busted hard. It's like the Mike's Hard lemonade. This was the bad bust.
But a bad bust is that Nathan started him, got 0 points, and Nathan beat me anyway. But we'll get to that.
We'll come to that later, yeah.
We'll get that in a little bit. Let's start with the youth matchups here, and I think you have the first one.
Match #1 is Casey. It's a travesty that you lost with 115.02 points versus Abby. Put the mallow on the gram. And Abby has 123.58 points. The Youth League name game remains strong here. Abby pulls to 3-1. Casey falls to 3-1. Abby takes out the 3-0 team, Casey. And Abby looked at this matchup. Was she scared? No, she just said.
She said nothing?
You're supposed to put the sound effect in there.
For what? Oh, sorry, I got totally lost that. Okay, do that again. Take 2. Ready, go.
Abby looks at the 3-0 team. It's a tough matchup, but is she scared? No, she's not. She looks at it and says,
forget about it.
Forget about it. Abby takes out Casey without any difficulty whatsoever.
I like Abby's New York accent that she has now.
Yes, now with her New York accent. So that's the first matchup.
The second matchup was horrendous for me. I'm a 2-time loser this week, and I played Judah, me just joshing you because Josh Jacobs is joshing me, and I stole a little bit of Eric's name from the Men's League, versus Double Portion of Pain. And the Double Portion of Pain, Judah, beat me. He beat me 103.5 to my 94.6. And fortunately for that clown, Aaron Jones got him 19 points last night. Otherwise, I possibly could have won, but I lost to stinking Judah.
That hurts.
I have nothing else to say other than my team stinks. My quarterback, ugh. Josh Jacobs, ugh. The rest of my team.
The student has become the master.
No, he just got lucky.
All right.
Next matchup.
You keep telling yourself that. Match #3 is me, Tight Fance, versus Uptown Girl, Nelson. Nelson's bringing the name game this year. He's got it going on. And fortunately for me, I scored 164.58 points. Nelson scores 102.7. We both pulled a 2-2, but for me, I get the...
Oh, sorry.
Nothing stops me. I'm raw power.
Sorry.
The Juggernaut bust? Is that what that was?
I went to push the Juggernaut and it was on bust and it happened. So let's take 2.
Back again. I had 164 points and I get the...
Nothing stops me. I'm raw power.
The Juggernaut Award.
High level production this week.
Yeah, this is high level this week. This is good stuff. So I have the Juggernaut. I think this is the first time this year that I've gotten the Juggernaut in the Youth League. So I will take it. My team finally showed up. Dalvin Cook had a huge game. Aaron Rodgers had a huge game.
Hey,
And
most
importantly, both Terry McLaurin and Amari Cooper had a big game. And George Kittle finally showed up after 3 weeks and nothing. My 3rd round pick. So that was huge.
We'll talk about him later.
Yep, that was huge for me.
You ready for the next matchup?
Next matchup.
Our next matchup was an amazing, amazing occurrence, something that's never happened before in the history of the Youth League. In this matchup, it was 8 is Great Connor versus Forgive and Fournette Isaac, who I think Isaac gets the award for best team name of the week. Maybe I'm just biased that way. But the amazing thing that's never happened before in the history of the Youth League, Connor McCarty, back-to-back wins. He is actually 2-2. He's got an even record. He doesn't have a losing record for the first time. There's a lot of first times in the history of the league, and he was acting like the Wolverine this week. But the reason that he won this week, he got a lot of points, 125, but also because Isaac was the poor Isaac. The good news
is there no way to, can we not shorten that drop a little bit somehow?
Why would we want to? The good news is that I got 1 more point than Isaac, so I wasn't the caboose, but he was. And who let him down? Michael Gallup, Tyler Higbee. He had no defense this week. Had he started any defense, he might not have been the caboose, but that's what happened. And our 4th matchup. And our final matchup, Aaron, is?
It is Brody versus Tristan. This was the battle of the clash of the Titans, the 2 0-3 teams going at it, hammer and tongs, trying to scratch out a win.
Did you say hammer and tongs?
What?
Hammer and tongs? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's an English term. Have you never heard that before? They say it all the time. Going at it, hammer and tongs, right? So I went with it just because, why not add a little culture to the show? So
you added something.
Not fighting tooth and nail, going at it, hammer and tongs, right? So I went a different way. So they're going at it, and particularly those two would know hammer and tongs, right? So I mean, all over it works. But anyway, unfortunately, somebody had to win. Okay, so in this week, it was Ingram Toenail Brody with 122.6 points versus Corona Tristan at 130.72. And Tristan was praising the Lord for pulling off the win, pulls to 1-3. And Tristan has Joseph Mixon to thank for this win this week.
Speaking of this win, let's get right to the power rankings. Can you hear me and the music okay, or do I need to?
A little bit. You might need to turn it up a little bit. There you go.
Is that better? All right. Starting at number 10 in the Youth League, you know you have to be there because you just lost the early round toilet bowl. It is Brody at 0-4 who lost to Tristan. I apologize, sir. But speaking of Tristan, he is number 9 in the power rankings with 1 win, and he only beat the worst team in the league. At number 8 in the power rankings, 1 point away from being the caboose. Me. Number 7, you know him as the guy you faced this week, Aaron. It was Nelson. He ended up number 7. He lost to tight fans, so that's why he's number 7. Plus, he's heading in the wrong direction. He was heading upward. He was strong. He used to be number 1 in power rankings, but he's now fallen way back. Speaking of falling back, it is this week's caboose, Isaac. But again, he's got a great name, Forgive and Fournette. And he's the loss. He's the caboose. He's number 6. But speaking of not too good of a team, Connor, which proves that anybody can improve, is number 5 in the power ranking. He's got a 2-game winning streak. Woo! So he's number 5. Speaking of number 5, Aaron, you come in number 4 in the power rankings. You've got a horrible team name, but you got the best points of anyone that's 2-2. And you were the juggernaut this week, Mr. Wolverine, so that was very good. And now I have to mute the sound just for a second here because we have something unprecedented this week in the Power Rankings. We've had ties in the past, but we've never had a tie like this.
Wow.
We have a three-way tie for first place between Casey, Abby, and Judah. It's unbelievable. None of them are #1 in the Power Rankings. They're all tied for #1 in the Power Rankings, but still, it's a lot better than me and you put together.
See, I would have put Judah at #3 just out of principle, and then Abby and Casey tied.
But I put them all three at tied for first out of principle.
All righty. Those are the Power Rankings. On to the Men's League.
The Men's League, I get first ups with this one, and it is my game, which was a horrible game. I played Nathan the Briefcase against Marshmallow, and the Briefcase squashed me like a bug, and I lost. He won. We're both 1-3, but I think you said most of the league is 1-3, aren't we?
Yeah, half the league is 1-3, and the other half is 3-1.
And Nathan, this week, it's a special award.
Got shocks, heads, lucky.
Nathan got the lucky award, and he's lucky he won because he played against me because I got the... I shortened it for you. You happy now?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My quarterback, Jared Goff, got me a total of 11 points. My #1 pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, got me 10. We talked about this earlier. DJ Moore got me 7. Hollywood Brown got me 11. My defense got me 1 point, and that's why I am a stinky caboose, and Nathan is lucky that he played me. Matchup #2.
#2 is Rick versus Eric. This was another battle of the Titans going at it hammer and tongs. They were, well, actually, it was more like they were going at it purses and powder puffs. And so, Rick, what style, at 87.5 points versus Rona Reckoning, Eric at 91.02 points. Eric barely pulls off the win, takes him to 3-1. Rick falls to 2-2. So for Rick, again, I know we already gave out a caboose, but it's just one of those weeks where two people deserve it. So Rick, your award is the caboose.
Did you shut off your video camera there for a second?
For a second, I'm apparently low on battery. So this is good. Hopefully we have enough to finish this.
What did Eric get for an award, Aaron?
So for Eric's award, he barely pulled it off, and he gets... Eric can be praising the Lord that he pulled off this win versus Rick. I'll let you handle the next one, and I'm going to plug in my phone.
Speaking of plugging in your phone, these two teams went head-to-head, and they needed more power than what they had. Jeremiah Exterminate versus Randy Ermer's Captain Doby.
Now, are you sure that it isn't Captain Doobie? Because I've heard that Randy is a big fan.
No. Do you remember the TV show Starsky and Hutch?
Oh, kind of. That's way before me.
Well, Randy's a little bit older. Remember, he started out as the old rookie.
Yeah,
the
right.
captain in the police force for Starsky and Hutch was Captain Doby. That was the guy's name.
I think Captain Doobie makes more sense.
But regardless of it all, Jeremiah beat Randy by 6 points, 96.6 to 90.2. And for winning, Jeremiah gets the...
a well-deserved award.
He gets the Met Award because his team was Met all over the place. Kenyon Drake 3, Brian Hill 3. He started Devontae Adams, who did not play, to get him 0. I mean, it was just kind of Met all over the place, but then so was his team because we picked best player available for him. But unfortunately for Randy, he lost to the Met team, and because he gets the... Do not adjust your screens. Randy got the same award as did Jeremiah. They are both mad because they both stink. You know, Russell Wilson did okay, but Rex Burkhead 5 points, Hopkins 7 points, Tyler Lockett 4 points. You know, if anybody on this team showed up other than Russell Wilson, Randy would have beaten Exterminate. But Jeremiah is 3-1, and that's why we don't like him. And Randy is 2-2, which is what he pretty much deserves.
And I mean the sound effect on that was very appropriate because they both stunk. So on to the next matchup, number 4. It is me, Too Many Cooks, versus Andy, Jurassic Shark. This was the matchup of the week. My team finally shows up, posts some points, gives me a chance to win, except I play the only team who scores more points than me, Andy. He beats me 137.08 to 133.6. Andy pulls to 3-1, and I drop to 1-3.
Good job, Aaron.
Unfortunately for me, I get this award. I am the biggest loser this week. I scored a ton of points, finally had a good week, and when it came down to that last match, we've already established this, but I'm just going to repeat it. It was between Julio Jones and Todd Gurley. And my gut was, well, Julio's coming off an injury. Just play Todd Gurley because, you know, he'll at least has a chance to score some points. But then the stupid freaking pundits and everything say, oh, Julio's good. He's going to play. He's going to play. And when Julio plays, you got to play him. You know what? Shut up. I'm not listening to any pundits anymore about Julio Jones.
I got a question. Who's the one that put Julio in the starting lineup again?
The pundits.
Oh, okay. They came and grabbed your phone and took over.
Yes.
Speaking of pundits, let's talk about the guy who destroyed you.
So Andy this week, he gets a double award. This is the first time we've ever done this award. So we're going to play both of them for you. Here are his awards.
Juggernaut. Whoops-a-daisy. Whoops-a-daisy.
The Juggernaut just slipped off the screen.
Yeah, so Andy gets the Jugger-daisy, which is the Juggernaut and the Whoops-a-daisy, because he was the Juggernaut on the week. Congratulations. But he did not play the stud of the week, Joe Mixon. He had Mixon sitting on the bench who scored 40 points. Not only did he have Mixon, he had a few others who scored some big points, as did I. I could have played anyone but Julio Jones and won that matchup.
Your wife just sent me a snap of you recording the video. So this is like really crazy because
she's standing outside.
You're there and you're there.
I mean, how creepy is that? What is
your
this, like
own
one
wife
of those?
is stalking
What
you.
is this? One of those police "I'll be watching you" moments? I mean, criminy.
That's a little crazy. But again, who is the one who has the blinds open?
I do.
Exactly. Speaking of you, let's go to the next matchup. And the next matchup was Dave Judge Judy himself against Judah getting higgy with it. And
I love the name. I love the name. That's one of my favorites for this
problem
week.
with the
Getting
name.
higgy with it.
But he did not start Tyler Higbee in his lineup, and he's got him in his own name.
We had this conversation last year, Judah.
I talked to him about it the other day. He said Kittle or Higbee. I said Higbee. If he would have taken our advice, he would have lost.
He should have done getting kitty with it then. I mean, come on.
Whatever the case is, Judah beat Dave. So Judah's up to 3-1. Dave's at 1-3 with us, rest of us bottom dwellers. And Dave got 109 points because he got the Bueller. Because he. Okay, I can't stop this one. It just keeps going. There's nothing I can do about it. But he gets a left me hanging from Nick Chubb, who's been dominating fantasy leagues this year. And he went out with an injury. He only got 4 points, 6 rushes, 43 yards, and nothing else. So that is why he got left hanging. And if Nick Chubb has showed up, maybe a little bit more of his team showed up, Dave may have beaten stinking Judah, getting piggy with it. But Judah this week gets the sing-along with me, folks. It's like I'm psychedelic and you're like totally sober.
Welcome back. Dreams we got ticket out.
And Judah gets the Welcome Back Award because your friend and mine, but not really Dave's friend, George Kittle, showed up big time this week for Judah. 15 targets, 15 receptions, 183 yards, and a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
Wow.
It's out of control. He even had a one rush for 8 yards. And so Judah got the welcome back for George Kittle. He got the win. Without George Kittle, Judah would have lost. So Judah needs to send him a couple bucks in the mail just for this individual victory.
Yep.
Like we said, last week's matchup we'll make up next time, but we are about to do something very important. We are doing the matchups right now. And our first one, Aaron, is Rick versus Dave. Who are you picking?
Dave's got some issues on his team. I'm going with Rick.
You know, I'm going with Rick also.
All right, next matchup, Jeremiah, Nathan. Who you got?
I'm going Jeremiah. Sorry, Nathan.
Jeremiah. Sorry, Nathan.
The next one, Randy versus Judah. Who you got? Come on.
That's a tough one now that Kittle's back. I'm going Judah.
I'm going Judah too. Next one, it's you versus Eric. Are you baking on yourself or think you're going to get squashed by Eric? Because I'm picking Eric.
I'm picking me.
Nice. We finally disagree on one. And the last one is me versus Andy. Who do you have?
Andy.
I'm picking me. So it is 2 games that we are watching. Your game and my game, and we are going to see who does that. And since you're running out of battery and this production has been so horrible.
I plugged my phone in, remember?
You know what? Sorry, you probably couldn't hear that. I'm going to try that again. You know what I say to that? You know what else I have to say?
All right, we'll
Bye,
see you next time, everybody.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording if I figure out how to do it. Push the options, stop recording. Stop recording this meeting. Stop recording.
I was going to put that one in the matchup between Abby and Casey. Since Casey got his first loss to Abby this week, I was just going to say, you know, something like Abby says to, you know, going up against a 3-0 team, forget about it. She's got it. Abby, Casey, and Judah are on fire.
Yeah. I wish I was on fire.